A very good afternoon, sir. This is Dr. Haritma. Namaskar, sir.
Good afternoon. Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. So welcome to Maitreyi College.
It's a pleasure.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, sir, for joining.
Well,
A very good afternoon to one and all. Should I start now?
Yes, please.
On behalf of the Physics Department, Maitreyi College, I welcome you all to this virtual meet. Today, we have gathered here to reminisce about our principal madam, Dr. Savita Datta, who occupies a special place in our heart, and she was the founder member of our Physics Department. Every year, on 30th September, our department organizes a memorial lecture to commemorate her on her birthday. This day will also be marked as a very special day in the history of Maitreyi College. I'm very grateful to our distinguished guest and an eminent personality, Professor Deepak Painter Sir, former Vice Chancellor of University of Delhi. When I rang up Painter Sir to oblige us with his talk, he readily agreed and mentioned that he had a very cordial and close association with Dr. Savita Datta. This is the influence of the charismatic personality of Dr. Savita Datta on all the people around her. She had many unique attributes which made her extraordinary. She was an outstanding scientist and also excelled as an administrator. Her knowledge and professional acumen was remarkable, and she completely personifies the phrase Gagar mein Sagar. Principal Dr. Datta's initiatives brought laurels to the college, and her efforts paved the way for imparting education by novel methods in the Maitreyi. She always strived hard to explore the innovative approaches for fulfilling the primary aim of educating the youth of this country. We have tried to put together a few glimpses of her life in the form of a presentation which will showcase some of the important milestones achieved in her life. Let us now go through the journey which was undertaken by her with great zeal and passion. She has two sisters and one brother. Her parents were very encouraging. They strived hard to make her do better in her life. She did BSc Honours Physics from Hindu College, MSc Physics from University of Delhi, PhD in Atmospheric Physics from Department of Physics and Astrophysics. She was the first woman Prime Minister of Hindu College and also minister in earlier cabinets. She was a bright, intelligent, and popular young woman who adored her course, classmates, and student life in Hindu College. She was multi-talented, took parts in debate, dance, and sports. She was happily married to Mr. Vinod Datta, who was a High Court advocate. She is blessed with two sons, and she did postdoctoral research from Delhi University. She joined Maitreyi College as a founder member in 1983, and Her hard efforts have made the physics lab what they are today. She expanded the faculty of the department. Also, BSc Honours Physics was inducted by her hard work. She became reader in year 1994. Along with her teaching, she also worked in different important committees of the college and taught students at MIT at South Campus. Her hard work brought her the designation of principal in Deshbandhu College. Her love for Maitreyi College brought her back to this college in October 2004. She strived hard to make the college a big name with a fame, and she organized various academic and extracurricular activities in the college for an all-round development of the students. Our college brought laurels. We were given grade A by NAC Accreditation Committee. Science block and girls hostel was a vision for her, and its foundation stones were laid. And I am happy to share that these are now ready. Her dream has come true. And DBT awarded us with the star status to the 4 science departments. Ours was the first college to run postgraduate diploma in nanotechnology during her tenureship. Many short-term courses were also introduced. Our college also worked as study center for IGNOU and non-collegiate web center. She was the coordinator for CEC, and MOU was also signed with TISTI. Various conferences, workshops were organized from time to time in the college. This is a glimpse of one of the workshops. Here is a visual for other activities going on in the college from time to time. International exchange program was also conducted. And she also inspired the physics teachers to prepare a lab manual, which was released by our today's chief guest, Professor Deepak Painter sir. New courses were also designed under her able guidance. She was a member of various statutory committees. Some of them are Ordinance Committee, Standing Committee on Academic Matters, Academic Council, Executive Council. She was a visiting faculty member at Institute for Informatics and Communications, Project Director, and National Coordinator for Pan-African E-Network Project. Many projects were undertaken under her able guidance. She was a project member of DU-CII. And this is the science block foundation stone being laid. And this is the present picture. Now it has come into shape. Another dream of girls' hostel is also now fulfilled. In addition to the principalship, she also held the directorship of Campus of Open Learning. And she strived hard to bring it again a name in the whole university. Many colleges with Milton Keynes, many projects with Milton Keynes, Edinburgh Telford College, University of Birmingham were undertaken by her. 28 short-term courses were introduced. Pan-African E-Network project was again a success. This is the visit in UK. They organized a workshop in Milton Keynes. Her efforts and hard work brought many recognitions to her. She obtained Outstanding Contribution to DU Award, Pratibha Award in 2014. Distinguished Alumni Award was also conferred by her. This was given by Old Students Association of Hindu College. In April 2004, she received Higher Education Award and also World Literacy Award in 2003. Her hard work was not only giving her many prizes when she was there, but posthumously also, she was given an Exceptional Woman of Excellence Award by Women Economic Forum 2018. And this was collected by her sister, Ms. Sangeeta, and she's also present with us today. So we love you, ma'am, and miss you a lot. Now, I would request Professor Haritma Chopra, our officiating principal, to address the gathering.
Thank you so much, Ritu, for giving me this opportunity to speak on this very special occasion to mark the birth anniversary of our former principal, Dr. Savita Datta. And at the onset, I extend a very warm welcome to Professor Deepak Bentu, a renowned academician, scientist, and former Vice Chancellor of Delhi University, for having accepted our invitation and being a part of this special day. And as Dr. Ritu has elaborated on the achievements or the initiatives that were undertaken by Dr. Savita Datta during her tenure, and it was during this presentation we could actually visualize all those things, and it was it we felt that it was just a day
Manju
before
Parul.
it happened very, but we never realized that we would be losing her so soon. But as an academician, as an administrator, now I'm holding this position. I feel that the best tribute that we can make, that we can give to any such personified leader is to follow her legacy. And this is what I very feel very proud to share with you all, that we all have been following this legacy. Because I still remember, and we always very proudly say that Maitreyi College was among the top 6 colleges across India that were conferred with Star College Award, because this and all these accomplishments that were achieved by the college, it actually happened during the tenure of Professor Deepak Pental only, who is present here today. So, for all such achievements, so the credit goes to you. Thank you so much, because you were always there with us. I still remember, because I, being from chemistry department, at that time we used to organize various sessions, and that was the time when you could visit us in person and interact with us. In fact, the first event wherein, because at that time the things have changed so much. I still remember the first day when we had bought a projector for making presentations, for delivering sessions in the class, in the college, and now everything is through the virtual platform. Even if people are sitting in different corners of, maybe many of us are not even in India or in Delhi, but still we all are connected through the same platform. Because when I talk about this first projector, because I still remember very clearly, uh, I was taking care, because at that time I was a part of the advisory committee, and I was involved in the purchase of the projector, and the first session, the first lecture that was delivered by you only, sir. You were there in the college, and at that particular time it was not working, so it took me some time to get started. So we could see that how things change and evolve. The way that was the first step, and now we are doing everything through the virtual platform. And everybody, whether we talk about teachers, students, we all have learned to live in this digital world. And we are taking the best of the opportunities that are available to us. I very often say that maybe over the last 2 years, we have learned and we have converted our obstacles into our opportunities, because the way we are interacting, we are giving our students the opportunity to interact with people of eminence like you, the stature like you, so that even if when they are home, they always remain, they remain optimistic, because they will understand that there is so much that they can do and sky is the limit. So even if they are confined to their homes, we do understand that now the situation, things are improving, and maybe in 2 months from now we would again be meeting up in person also, and we would be interacting, but we have fully utilized this time also. And when we talk about research, because sir, initially when we think, research was the word which was, maybe when we think of research, we used to think only about the science departments. But how important it is for the holistic understanding or holistic perspective of any subject, the overall view, and that can be obtained only when we have both the sides. And that is why we say that we have a multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary approach where sciences and social sciences are working together. And sir, if I am not mistaken, because you had keen interest in the social science policy, especially in the field of agriculture, and in fact, from Punjab University, you were given you received a medal for Gandhian philosophy. So this simply indicates that if you want to have the complete understanding, so it is not only sciences, maybe sciences, social sciences, all aspects they have to work together. And when, as Dr. Ritu was also stating, that in the college we started with by collaborating, by getting funding from DBT, getting started with the Star College Award, where where the science departments of our college got the recognition for doing research. But we have carried forward that legacy. And since 2017, because in 2016 till 2016 we got the funding from DBT, but since then, since 2017, we realized that when we have got the funding, we could purchase so many instruments. So now our labs are well equipped. So it is the time that when we have to actually utilize all our resources and get started. So since 2017, the college established its own research center, which we call as the Center for Research, wherein we undergo research. This is a unique center in the university because here the students from sciences and social sciences are working together. Initially, we started with simple projects, but now for the past 2 years, and in fact during this pandemic, through online mode also, the students are involved in the research works. Though now it has become more like survey based because they are not able to come to the lab and do the practical work, but they have learned a lot. And this is what we feel, that actually they have evolved themselves and they have constructively used this period. So we are not only having research in the field of science, but social sciences, multidisciplinary projects are also being done. And over the past 4 years, sir, the college has completed 150 projects. And these projects are mentored by the students, or by the teachers of the college, and their work is being done by the students. And the student, whether she is from the department of languages, so even a student from Sanskrit department, or from Hindi department, or a student from botany, zoology, they all are working together. And we could see that the essence is that this is how it has reflected, because the number of our students who are going in for higher education, the number of students who are getting placed, and the type of placements that they are getting, everything has escalated. So that is why I often feel, and I personally, my thought is that whenever we talk about, because in general we think about academia, we think about industry, we have been talking about academia industry linkages. The only bridge, the way we can connect these two is through research only. Because when we talk about research, it is not only studying or doing some experiment. Actually, through this, you are working on your communication. That can be oral, written communication. You get to know how to present yourself. And nowadays, even this, during this time, because of pandemic, when we are confined, when we are having this session, right now this session is attended by 122 people. We are not able to see one another, but what we can do is the way we speak, the way we communicate our feelings, our expressions, we are able to convince others. So how important is this communication? Soft skills, they play a very important role. And these are the attributes which are being taught to a student at the undergraduate level, and that would actually help in deciding for her career, or whether she want to go in for corporate job, or whether she wants to have her career in academics. So let it be any field, the basis, I feel that the bridge that can connect these two seamlessly is research only. And that is why research has to be the core of any undergraduate college. But when we are starting, we are doing on our own, we are doing so many things, but I personally feel that we always need the guidance and the mentoring from people, from researchers, scientists like you, because you would be able to guide us that where we are going wrong, or what else can be done so as to improve this. And I feel very happy to say, and maybe I think that because I personally worked in close connect with Dr. Savita, and I feel that whenever I think of giving her the tribute is that to take Maitreyi College to greater heights. And I feel very happy to share with you all that this year, when India Today rankings were declared, Maitreyi College has been declared as the #1 college of India, which has emerged at the fastest rate. So the topmost emerging college of India is Maitreyi College. So, and it has all happened because of the constant support of our teachers and the students. And I personally feel that the core, the research blended learning has actually helped us in crossing these barriers and reaching up to that height. But I still feel that it's a long way to go. Our journey has just started, with things coming up now, with the national education policy, where again the essence is we are talking about research blended learning, where we will be talking about that how the academics and co-curricular and extracurricular activities have to go hand in hand. So because everything that we do teaches us some or the other skills. So when we are harnessing on our skills, when we are working on our or improving, or we want to we want to groom a student into an individual who is an asset to the society. So all these things can be obtained only if we have a very systematic way of studying at the undergraduate level. There is a lot that can be talked about, that can be spoken, but now I feel that it would be an honor for all of us that we now hear the words of wisdom from Professor Deepak Pendle. Thank you so much, sir, once again for accepting our invite and
Thank
being
you.
with us.
Thank
And
you.
before, because Dr. Ritu would be speaking at length about your achievements, accomplishment, because we want that our students should know, and because they know, and these words the others have achieved. So maybe that sets a landmark for them that these things can be achieved. And sir, the way you have contributed, because the students might not be knowing that one of the new species of frogs that was discovered in Western Ghat by the Delhi University is named after you. So it is indeed an honor for us, for all our students. It is a moment of pride that you have accepted our invite and you are being with us. So thank you so much, sir, for accepting
Thank
our
you.
invite.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I welcome once again all the participants to this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chopra, for your kind words. Now, I'll just request each participant to switch on their videos for a group photograph so that we can have a memory of this memorable day. Please switch on your videos. All of you are requested to switch on your video so that we can see your lively faces and capture these moments. Thank you so much, everyone. So now, as Professor Chopra has told that, sir, it's just your introduction formally, but everyone knows you in the university. So I'll just take a few minutes to introduce you. Thank you, sir. Once again, thank you from the core of my heart to accept our invitation and being here.
Ritu, unmute yourself.
Ma'am, you're on mute.
It is better that way.
I think I'll stop sharing and then I'm audible, yes? Sorry, sir, I can't, but you are visible, so I don't need to show your picture also. So I'm starting again. Professor Deepak Paintal did his BSc and MSc from Punjab University, doctor from Rutgers University, and postdoctoral research work. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, postdoctoral research work from University of Nottingham. Since 1993, he has been associated with University of Delhi. After his superannuation as professor of genetics, he continues to work at the Center for Genetic Manipulation of Crop Plants in the university. He is an elected fellow of the National Academy of Agricultural Science, National Academy of Science, Indian Academy of Sciences, and Indian National Science Academy. He has received many awards, which include O.P. Bhasin Award for Research in Agriculture, FICCI Award for Innovative Research and Development in Life Sciences, Lifetime Achievement Award in Agriculture by Mahindra and Mahindra Foundation, 2018, to name a few. He also received the J.C. Bose National Fellowship from DST for year 2009 to 19, and he was a CSIR Distinguished Scientist from 2017 to 2020. Sir has written extensively on reforms in higher education and agriculture. He has always supported the use of a new plant breeding technology to provide a better deal to the farmers of India. Professor Paintal has worked on the breeding of mustard oil seed and cotton for the last 30 years. His group's work has led to a significant breakthroughs in mustard breeding for higher and better quality yield with stress on disease resistance. He has published around 100 papers in peer-reviewed journals that have received more than 3,000 citations. From 2005 to 2010, he served as the Vice Chancellor of University of Delhi. We thank you, sir, and we are really indebted to you for accepting our invitation and being a part of this memorable event. Now I request you to enlighten us with your knowledge. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. I'm both pleased and saddened on this occasion because we lost Dr. Savita Datta too soon. We would have liked to see her around for many more years. She was a personal friend and a colleague who did a lot of work with me when I was in the university administration. And we kept on meeting after I demitted the office, and she kept on in the university administration. She was, in my view, a very rounded personality. She could do well in administration, she could do well as a teacher, and she could do well as a family, towards her family also. So a very multifaceted personality and a very endearing personality. She did a lot of work with me on open learning, on Institute of Lifelong Learning. this has been mentioned when colleagues talked about her life history a little bit in very brief, in very short time. Very hard to capture all her qualities in a few words. But I am happy that the college is remembering her. That sets example for others. So it's a pleasure to be in the college, and thank you, Principal, for informing me about some very interesting developments in Maitreyi College. It has such a beautiful location, such a nice building, good surroundings, and very eager young women students who want to make something of their lives. So the college is going in the right direction and doing very well. That's a very good news for me, and I'm very happy to hear that. I'm going to speak to you a little bit on the importance of science and technology and research and development. If we want to be a prosperous nation, if we want to pull out millions out of poverty, we have to work hard, and we have to build our institutions, and we have to do good research and development work and convert the R&D work into manufacture or production. So it's a big game. It's not a small game. Making a country prosperous, making a country which has been under colonial rule, many regimes invading it. So the country has to make it big, and this is the 75th year of our independence. So we need to give a very serious thought to where we are and what we need to do, particularly in education and research and development. The human species originated somewhere in Africa about 200,000 years back, and human beings have migrated to many parts of the world, mostly as tribal bands. The tribal structure was the structure for almost 180, 190,000 years of human evolution before we started settling down in different parts of the world around agriculture, what is called as a sedentary mode of life. And this is only 10, 12,000 years back. And all the... Can you see the presentations?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. So the sedentary mode of life brought about what we call as culture, religions, warfare, even intellectual developments that we are so proud of today when we talk about our ancient cultures. But it all started only about 12,000 years back, when plants and animals were first domesticated in the Fertile Crescent area, somewhere here in this particular area. And in many other parts of the world, sedentary mode of life started around domestication of plants and animals. About 500 years back, 600 years back, the human civilizations created a lot of knowledge. We still talk about the kind of structures Mohenjo-daro and Harappa civilization developed, what Egyptian civilization did, what happened in the Iraq, Iran area, and in other parts of the world. Great achievements, buildings, warfare, instruments, mathematical discoveries. A lot of things happened. But in a concerted way, science and technology came into being in Europe about 500 years back, when Copernicus challenged the religious view of Earth being the center of the world and showed that Earth is a planet of the star Sun. And Bruno also made some contributions towards physics of planets and solar system. And the religious people did not like his sayings or his discoveries, and he was almost murdered. He died on the stake. And even great person like Galileo had to be mostly interned in his own house because he was saying something which was going against the scriptures of Christianity. So I've just shown a couple of people on this slide who contributed in a great way to develop scientific theories and for the development of scientific temper and scientific knowledge. Most of the students will be aware of these personalities, some contributing to geology, Linnaeus contributing to taxonomy, others contributing to chemistry and physics, which are big subjects. And ultimately, my favorite, Charles Darwin, who told us that human beings have not been created, but have evolved. And the theme I want to say at the end of the talk, I must tell you right now, and at the end I will mention it again, that we have to constantly evolve, not biologically. Biological evolution with human beings is in a difficult terrain now because we have captured so much power in the human, in the geological history of this earth. And we have to live by our own wits and by our inventions and discoveries and by our wisdom. But evolution, culturally, evolution, the institutions must evolve, legal systems must evolve for the betterment of the human being and of the betterment of the planet, because there are enormous challenges in front of us. The Industrial Revolution, science expands the knowledge, liberates us from dogma, but the Industrial Revolution was the key to generate wealth and give us the kind of lifestyle which we take it for granted today. And a couple of points I've mentioned here. The printing press, which brought knowledge to almost everyone, steam engine, cotton gin, electricity. Today, any country which has blackouts is considered to be primitive. Electricity is the key to our modern day living. Automobiles, we don't even blink an eyelid when we hop into our automobiles, cars or scooters to go from here to there. Aerospace, antibiotics, atomic energy, electronics, computational machines, and biotechnology. So the Industrial Revolution is there for real, and it has brought so much wealth and good living to mankind. Here are some of the key discoveries. Printing press. Today we have moved from books to online materials, but the books still remain our key source of knowledge. And it all started in only about 500 years back. The steam engine, which turned into railways, our country also benefited from it, although the British were the forefront of steam and steam power, but the whole world benefited from the industrial inventions that occurred around the steam power and then other the spinning of yarn into cloth. The earlier, we in India also had some very interesting weaving machines, which were rather primitive, but were very, very nice. We used to make very good cloth in our country. But the steam power and mechanical devices led to more production of yarn, so that everybody had access to good clothing and so on. And of course, telephone and the electricity. Now I've shown some of these people who are ascribed to these great inventions. But if you look at carefully, there's a history behind all this. The electric bulb was invented by many people, including in Europe. Some of the people, I forget their name now. But Edison is the one who brought it to a level that it could be commercialized, that it could be manufactured at a large scale. So can you imagine that at the turn of the century, there were no street lights? People used to work under kerosene lamps or under wax lamps. And even the great kings that ruled the whole swath of area and whole big regions did not have the pleasure of having a light bulb shining on their head. And now you see, you can also check the prosperity of the world through the night lighting. If you look into some parts of the world, there's very little light there because the economic prosperity is limited. But wherever the economic prosperity has come, the areas are well lighted up. And one of the dreams in India, which has been perhaps fulfilled, is to take electricity to every home in the country. Now, today we say, oh, I will meet you in Chennai tomorrow. People are crisscrossing the world. Of course, that has also been responsible for spreading this virus all over the world. But the world has become one in terms of communication and in terms of travel. And can you imagine, it was only in 1903 that the first biplane flew for a short distance. And since then, see the awful technology developments that have taken place, both in terms of aviation and in terms of space. When in 1961, the Russian cosmonauts flew into the space to the landing on the moon in 1969. Tremendous progress in the last century, and all due to developments in technology, which are really, today we take them for granted, but how much of human effort, resources, and commitment and passion have gone into developing these technologies. If we think about that for a few minutes, we will come to realize how much humankind has achieved in the previous century, the 20th century. And also some dreams of unlimited power, but also destructive power. This is the first nuclear bomb which was exploded in experimental way, and then you know that the bombs were rained over. 2 bombs were put on the Japanese soil in Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the United States, which brought the World War II to an end. So that's the only time when nuclear weapons were used, thankfully. And that is what the wisdom we want. We have awful power in technology, but to use it in a sensible manner is the challenge. And of course, the modern day technologies which bring together so many technologies. Look at what goes into an iPhone. Here is the CEO of Apple standing up and introducing a new device. But look at how much knowledge, how much of effort, collective effort has gone into making a cell phone, which everybody wants to either has or wants to possess, not only iPhone, but other phones also. But I think at times we don't appreciate the human effort which has gone into it, the kind of societies which allow this kind of developments, and the pleasure and the responsibility that brings to us in terms of using these technologies. Medicine, which is of everybody loves their lives. Everybody wants to live long and enjoy the scene of being alive on this planet. And you can see that the human health has improved tremendously. It started with the chlorination of water, a very simple idea, but an idea which saved human beings from water carried pathogens and diseases. And of course, vaccines. Today, we are hoping to bring our planet to some kind of normalcy, mostly due to the vaccines which are effective against this viral pathogen, which has stuck humankind in a very big way in the past 2 years. So you can see that some very simple things like oral rehydration therapy and some very critical surgical interventions like angioplasty, all these things have contributed to a situation where average human life was, in India, for example, was around 26 years in 1900, and today it is in 65, 66 or something like that. And this is due to the medical revolution that is saving a lot of children. Child mortality has gone down hugely. The human body size has increased due to more protein intake. And the human population, which was around 1.6 billion in 1900, has jumped to around 7.7 billion by 2019. Today it is about 7.9 billion. I believe that's the number. And it's going to plateau out at some of the projections say around 9.4 billion. Some projections say it may get over 10 billion people. And so the time of technology development, huge, the fast rate of technology development in all kind of areas has also precipitated on us a big population explosion. And one of the things which we think about very little is how this kind of population has been fed, because pre-1900 times, in fact, till even 1950s, the world was suffering from a lot of famine-like conditions, a lot of epidemics and a lot of famines. Since 1950s, only some parts of the world have famine-like situations, particularly in Africa, time to time when rains fail, and Africa has still to work on their food and nutrition security. In India also, we have problems of undernutrition low protein intake, and our medical services are still not up to the mark. But everybody would agree that the country has made a lot of progress in medicine and in acquiring the technologies and even in developing some of the technologies. So how have we fed ourselves? One of the big discoveries post 1900 was the Haber-Bosch process, whereby the chemists came up with a process by which atmospheric nitrogen can be converted into ammonia, because the world was suffering from shortage of nitrogenous fertilizers, and the whole world was staring at hunger in around First World War time. Had it not been Haber-Bosch process, which would have given us nitrogenous fertilizers to fertilize the soil, rather than acquiring more and more land for agriculture for population expansion. Mechanization, if we have to cultivate all our land still with bullocks, there will be so many more animal heads and they will have to be fed. Crop protection chemicals, chemistry has done some wonders. Some of these chemicals have turned out not to be so good for human health, but at least you will recall recent locust invasion in Rajasthan. If it was not for chemicals, a huge amount of crops would have been destroyed and people would have starved. And of course, systematic plant breeding. The process of breeding started with domestication of plants and animals, but it has become more scientific after 1900, when Mendelian laws of inheritance were rediscovered by 3 different laboratories. And systematic plant breeding has helped us in feeding such a large population. Here is Norman Borlaug on the left, standing between his dwarf wheats. The introduction of dwarf wheats and dwarf rice increased the yields by 200% in wheat. And so no additional area had to be brought under wheat and rice. In fact, today we have, in India even, we have a surplus of wheat and rice, and therefore during the pandemic time we could give a lot of food help to people whose incomes are very low. This all would have not been possible without the science and technology interventions in crops. And now we have new developments. In fact, if you look at it, science and technology, we usually say S&T, but they are not wedded so intimately as we believe. The scientific world was little separated from the technological world, and many times technology feeds into scientific developments and science feeds into technology. But technology was more like testing, trying and putting things together, which is a unique feature of human species in terms of whether they're making old-fashioned spears and weapons or whether making the new technologies. But more and more technology is becoming science-based. The electronic revolution would not have come without great scientific insights. And even in biology, in the 1950s, after which the molecular biology started in a big way with the discovery of DNA, elucidation of DNA structure, and DNA being the master molecule in the organisms. The whole area of biotechnology has developed side by side with great scientific insights. The latest example of it is gene editing, where 2 women scientists, Doudna and Charpentier, they got last year's Nobel Prize also in chemistry, have found a method by which you can change a gene's coding region or its regulatory region and a direct intervention, which was not possible earlier. And of course, the field of genetic engineering, where you can take any genetic information from any organism and put it into a plant or an animal. These are fantastic new developments. Unfortunately, sometimes people don't like new technologies. They want to go back. But I believe that there is no going back, because you cannot go back to agriculture, which was pre-1900. It was almost all organic. And the humankind was staring at famines and food shortages every other year. So we have to use these new technologies. In the field of genomics, can you imagine when the first human sequence of human genome was published? One nucleotide sequence costed about $1. Today, it has come down to one by 10,000 times. So that a lab like ours could also put together the genome of mustard with a much smaller expenditure than what has been done earlier in terms of. So this is all technology development. And if you look at all these areas, there are not only biological insights, but also our ability in the computational side. You can generate data, but handling the data on a piece of paper with the millions of base pairs is not possible. So without the computational strength, and wise people are all talking about how this computational area is going to have both challenges and opportunities for humankind. So all these developments are part of the 20th century. The genomics revolution has happened in the 21st century, but gene editing also has come up in the 21st centuries. So we are constantly adding on to our toolkit to deal with emerging challenges and to make the planet more livable and more ecologically more benign and environmentally stronger. I recently wrote a perspective article in Dialogue, which is an online journal of Indian Academy of Sciences, Bangalore. So, and I have very rigorously looked at what are the challenges for India in agriculture and the pivotal role of R&D in meeting these. We are overusing water. 90% of our water withdrawals go to agriculture, and which is not sustainable, particularly the overexploitation of groundwater. That water is irreplaceable, or it will take many, many years, thousands of years to replace it. So while we are very happy that we have a lot of rice and a lot of wheat and a lot of sugar to eat sweet things, but these are all water guzzling crops, and we are using water which our future generations would require in a more modest manner. And water is also required for manufacturing. Water is also required for human life improvement. Just think about those who do not get proper drinking water, proper water to sorry about that. So I would urge the students, particularly biology students, to go through that paper. If they can lay their hand on it, or they can write to me, I'll send them a copy. But what are we doing? While the countries in green have already decided to use gene editing, which is a very powerful technology. Otherwise, we were causing mutations to remove a particular gene by mutations, by irradiation or by chemical mutagens, which are not targeted, which are random. And you are looking for one important mutation, but you are creating hundreds of other mutations, which takes you years and years to clean it up. But this site-directed mutagenesis is such a powerful technology, and many countries of the world, shown in green, have already accepted this technology. Europe somehow, which was the cradle of discoveries in science and technology, has gone in a slightly different mood. They don't like anything new, but we have to take up the mantle. The other countries, and countries like China, have invested huge amount of funding into R&D and gene editing. They are the world leaders in gene editing today in plants. We still are dithering about whether we want to use gene editing. And just like we did not benefit fully from the gene and genetic engineering technology, same way we are going in the direction of gene editing, which is much more innocuous. And there should not be any doubts that it is a very safe technology. The National Agriculture Academy has made a case to the government. I hope they will listen. So here is where the world has come to in terms of GDPs. You will see that United States is one of the highest GDPs in the world. China has creeped up very smartly, and you will see that India has also gone up, but much slower, because we have not created a good manufacturing ecosystem in our country. And I think we are behind the world in R&D also. Per capita in the world, you will see that till 1950, India and China in their per capita income were very similar. And GDP per capita, you can see here that China and India at the bottom, China has pulled up while India is still having low. So we have to adopt technologies, we have to build our country, and we have to bring in prosperity through technology. Some of the writings on this is taken from Noah Harari's book, Sapiens. I will urge the students to read this book. It's one of the excellent insights into human history from origin to modern times. And the three key things for a nation to forge ahead are power in terms of both industrial power and military power, the utilization of resources and how much resources a country has. And the third pillar in this is how much they are investing into research and development. Many people have written about why West came to dominate the whole world. And Niall Ferguson has written an excellent book. Many others have also written. I've just taken something from his book, what he thinks are the reasons for West's ascendance. It's competition, science, property rights, medicine, consumer society. Overconsumption is also a bad idea, as our greatest leader, Gandhiji, always spoke about excesses in life. But consumption by poor must go up in the country, if not by the rich. And a very strong work ethic, something which Dr. Savita Datta had in plenty, and many of us lack. Here is David Landis, is a professor of history and economics in Harvard University, wrote a very wonderful book on what are the reasons behind countries becoming prosperous. Autonomous intellectual inquiry, scientific method of verification, good government and institutions. Mind you, good government is always something which you have to aspire for, and the citizens have to be very vigilant about it. The recent happenings you can see in the United States, which considers itself as the most democratic country, where one of the presidential candidates refused to accept the verdict of the people, saying that there has been some gapla in the elections. So every country has to keep on struggling for enlightenment, for more knowledge, for proper use of knowledge. Even the best of the countries and the most prosperous of the countries, citizenry has to be cannot go complacent. They have to be always on their toes in protecting and taking the institutions forward. And this is something which I want to emphasize at the end of my lecture. Institutions are, of course, in some sense, the products of culture, but because they formalize a set of norms, institutions are often the things that keep a culture honest, determining how far it is conducive to the good behavior rather than bad. Maitreyi is an institution, University of Delhi is an institution, the Parliament of India is an institution, the judiciary is an institution, every court is an institution, the police is an institution. And these institutions must work to some ethical and constitutionally determined standards if we have to progress. It's not only research and development, and educational institutions, of course, have a great role to play in producing the kind of citizenry which will take democracy forward, which will take human rights forward, and which will take creativity forward. I have not spoken on higher education for a very long time. I will take a few more minutes of your valuable time, because I could see after ended my term as Vice Chancellor that I could not contribute in a significant way towards it. And I went back to my research and concentrated more on the breeding of oilseed mustard, where we have made lots of breakthroughs, but some of them are genetically engineered and the country doesn't want to use them, which is very unfortunate. I keep on impressing upon the government and the scientific community and people at large that we need these technologies. And I hope I would succeed one of these days. But higher education, I tell you why I stopped thinking about it too much through these couple of slides, which I will show you quickly. Some of the very positive things have happened for education in the country. We have a right to education. I think a lot of people say that it was done in haste. Yes, we took a lot of school teachers who were not competent enough. If things are done gradually, and gradually means still you can hasten it, but doing it in one go, you need to fulfill the requirements very, very fast. And that leads to lowering of the standards in hiring of the school teachers or the faculty. We have IITs, we have new central universities. We have some of the old universities which have a whole history behind them. We have Indian Institute of Management and now the Indian Institute of Science, Engineering, Science, Education and Research. And we have triple IITs, we have standalone law schools. We initiated National Knowledge Network. We had a program to train undergraduate students in good laboratories, expose them to some scientific work. Your principal mentioned that you have got some research labs in the college also, which is the way to go for every college. There is an Inspire program of DST, better doctoral scholarships. Of course, they are stagnating now and we don't pay our postdocs enough. But JC Bose fellowships, for which I was also a recipient, and some reforms in the universities, which were very hard to undertake, because I still feel that our academic community likes stasis more than it likes evolving. Reality checks, very uneven schooling system, massive tuition and coaching system now, of course, which is being replaced by Baijus of this world. There are other problems of political patronage and regionalism. We have to guard against them. That's where nationalism, true nationalism, comes in. Teachers associations, I had best of the relations with elected teacher leaders, but I think they go overboard. They should think more about change rather than about flagging stagnation and knowledge by position. If I am the vice chancellor, I may not be the wisest person in the university. Vice chancellors are not picked on the basis of the most wise person. Political interference, which is still bedeviling us, and reluctance to accept global benchmarks. We have now indigenous benchmarks. But you know, when you play a game, if you're playing cricket or if you're running in Olympics, you go by the international benchmarks. You don't discover your own benchmarks. That's a defeatist attitude. India should be brave enough to see where we stand globally in terms of education and R&D. And this is the reason why I gave up on that. So many committees during my active time in administration, the National Knowledge Commission, which gave some wonderful ideas, action plan for academic and administrative reforms, under which we brought semester system. A lot of teachers still feel that it was not needed. Restructuring school science teaching programs, Yashpal Committee report, Core Committee of Vice Chancellors, Madhav Menon Committee. This is till 2011. I don't know how many other committees came out. Finally, the NEP, National Education Policy, where Dr. Kasturi Rangan was heading it, and that has given other recommendations. If you look at these recommendations are to bring Indian universities and colleges to some kind of global structural level, global standards. Nothing more than that. There are no new great ideas in these in NEP. NEP, for example, when I was vice chancellor, we passed a resolution in AC that undergraduate degree should be 4 years. Professor Dinesh Singh, who followed me, tried to implement it, but due to political reasons, it was not accepted, and we went back. Now we are coming back to 4 years again. Why 4 years? Because students must have more knowledge than the core subject in which they have took admission. I want to say to this that all the teachers and the academics in this country should think first about the students and the future, the country's future. We are all very secure. We have permanent jobs. I know that some of the teachers are in temporary positions, and that's not a good idea. But all of us are beneficiaries of government salaries and pensions and so on. We should put the students' interest first, and only then we will be able to make the changes. And the country's competitiveness in R&D and in science and technology and in building institutions. Fortunately, NEP has given some of the recommendations which were there in all these committees earlier also, without unfortunately mentioning any of these committees, because I thought that's a better idea, that we should have informed the country that how many efforts have been earlier made to reform and have not succeeded, and hopefully by saying it again and again, the present effort of new education policy will succeed. So declare a national, this is what I recommended in 2011 at Vigyan Bhavan. Declare a national higher education policy based on the recommendation of various committees Fortunately, it has been done now. Let's see how good the implementation is. Stop opening new standalone institutes for basic research. Seed engineering research in the IITs, institutions only for a few areas of applied research. Basically, I pleaded for the general way in which education and knowledge is imparted in the Western world, mostly through the universities, not so much colleges. Colleges are, but I think colleges give us an opportunity which we should grab now, because these are the structures which we have put together, and we should use them the best rather than uh, casting doubts on them. Develop faculty for today and tomorrow. There are many areas in which we do not have proper faculty. The teaching of economics I know that even in biology, some of the new subjects, we have to have faculty. And you will recall during my time as Vice Chancellor, we made a scheme to send teachers abroad for doing a master's degree. College teachers said doing a master's degree in subject areas in which Delhi University's teaching was very weak. I don't know whether that has been carried forward or not. And comprehensive funding for research projects at the universities. So all these things have been said time and again. The only thing I would like to emphasize is that all of us should endeavor to make sure that R&D is well funded in the country. You will see here in this graph that South Korea puts 4.5% of its GDP into R&D. Japan around more than 3%. India is going down, and it's only about 0.7%. The only other country which has slipped down a little bit is Russia. All other countries, UK, and look at China, how much they are investing into R&D. I must tell you that this includes both the private investments in R&D and the public funded investments in R&D. So in India, the private sector R&D is very poor because we never grabbed the electronics revolution. We have very little manufacturing. Whatever manufacturing we are doing in the country is assembling only. And we need to gear up in R&D, and we need to gear up in manufacturing if we want to make our country prosperous. And not only in the 75th year of India's independence, I think we should ask the governments, whether the present government or the future governments, in no party line here, that we should, as a nation, we should decide to invest more into R&D and more into education. And also, but I must tell you that more money is not enough if we are not desirous of working hard and reforming our institutional structure. The 4-year course in undergraduate brings some new opportunities. At least students should be conversant with 2 subjects, and they must strengthen themselves in the mathematical and statistical area and large data handling. Otherwise, we would be left way behind, and whatever needs to be done to bring expertise in our college teachers in these areas needs to be done. So investments have to be made both in R&D and both in improvement of school teachers' profile. We should be lifelong learners, and teachers should commit themselves to lifelong learning if we have to utilize the knowledge which is available, and if we are going to be in the game of generating new knowledge for our country. Thank you. I've said enough. I fondly remember at this stage and at the end of my talk, Dr. Savita Datta, who was a very dear friend, and I hope that we have all learned something from her in terms of enthusiasm towards our institutions. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such an enlightening and knowledgeable talk. I hope the students must have been inspired, as you are a living legend of knowledge, inspiration, and lifelong learning. Any questions from the audience? You can unmute yourself or write in the chat box. Sir had made the things very easy. He had started from real basics of the science and then to the research. Anything to be clarified? I think sir was very simple to explain everything.
Students are very shy of asking questions.
Yes, yes, sir. So now I would like to thank you again, sir. So now formally, Dr. Veena Mishra will deliver the vote of thanks.
Namaskar, sir. And
Namaskar,
very
ji.
good afternoon to everyone. Honorable Sir, Professor Pental, our Principal, Professor Haritma Chopra, esteemed dignitaries among the audience. I could see Professor Inakshi Sharma, Dr. Suman Govil over there, and other invited guests, my colleagues, and dear students. It's my proud privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this special occasion. Today's esteemed speaker, Professor Painter, has always been a man of action and believes in delivery till today, and he expects same from all of us, everyone. I thank everyone for their kind presence. Dr. Savita's bond with people from various backgrounds was very strong. Her superiors from various backgrounds including Painter sir, found her trustworthy, a remarkable human being, excellent mentor, and outstanding administrator who accepted challenging roles and genuinely interested in serving the university. Her friends and associates found her sincere, positive, generous, and helpful. Her excellent communication skills made her favorite of everyone she interacted with. Her qualities are definitely the reason behind our audience today on this occasion. I, on behalf of Physics Department, all the faculty members and lab staff, special guests in the audience, which may I call fraternity of Dr. Savita Datta, and on my own behalf, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to our esteemed speaker, Professor Pentel, for sparing his valuable time from his busy schedule and enlightening us with his vital ideas and opinions on the research and development today. I may like to express our sincere thanks to Sir for giving an excellent coverage of the importance of research and development in science and technology for the benefit of everyone in day-to-day life. We are all inspired by your great words, sir. We are educated by your informative talk. I feel the teachers and professors who attended this lecture will be able to extract best results out of students by applying these tips in teaching and classrooms. Once again, I thank you, sir, for having spared your precious time for all of us.
Thank you.
Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks to Professor Haritma Chopra, our principal, for the perfect logistics support and guidance she has extended to all of us on this occasion. I thank all the students and everyone whom I have left out. Thank you everyone once again for making it a great success. Thank you so much, sir. I'm
Thank you.
highly obliged. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks one and all for being here and making this memorable day again a memorable day. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. The feedback form has been shared in the chat box. Please fill it up. All the students, all the guests, please fill up your feedback form. It is shared in the chat box. Dr.